All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Symphogear, Season 4, Episode 1. New season, let's go!
New OP.
New OP.
New updated visuals, probably.
New updated visuals. New music. New teammate. Hell yes.
Yeah.
Previous season, I believe it was the previous season where we got them actually like stopping a spaceship through a mountain and all of that shit. So
yeah, I don't think they're ever going to top that.
I don't think they're ever going to top that.
In the premieres.
Right. But
yeah,
I am very curious what they're going to do for this pilot.
I want, honestly,
Pilot.
the most,
Premiere.
like, straightforward school festival. Same thing. They're planning for another, like, idol concert kind of thing.
Miku is the focus character.
No. Just saying that's all the thing that's going on there. And then it's just, like, slice of life stuff or what have you. And then the last, like, 90 seconds, balls to the walls, nuts to butts, action, ridiculousness comes in at the last second, teases the villain in the last 3 seconds, then the episode cuts and it's over.
Nice. And in particular, I would love it if with their idol, thing and all of that stuff, that we also include some kind of cooking thing that the group of them are doing, right? Or maybe Shirabe is teaching all of them how to cook or something like that. And then that is specifically when it gets interrupted. They're all sitting down to have a nice meal and then explosion, the food goes flying everywhere, you know.
But yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right,
okay.
We have ourselves a kaiju, we got ourselves the Illuminati, we got ourselves more alchemists, which, okay, cool, then the Season 3 establishing of a new power system for our main girls to have to deal with without actually having to fight other Symphogear users is cool because it blends in the elements of song, magic, and heretical technology and all that, so awesome.
Yeah, this is something that I really appreciate because it makes it so that even if the conflicts of the previous seasons are done, and like it makes those seasons feel like they're still relevant even though they're over, right?
Yeah,
so it's not just exactly, and not just in the we have new characters that are in our group now,
right?
So cool, love it.
Cool.
The action and the visuals were on point, like wonderfully hype.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, I feel like this episode there were some really cool things that they did with lighting that felt like that was one of their next big kind of visual upgrades for the show as a whole. But yeah, it was a very funny episode.
Yes.
It feels like the show has, I would say, slowly but surely gotten more and more efficient at triple, double, quadruple dosing basically us as the viewers with pure Symphogear madness.
Yep.
In more and more concentrated, punches. So the humor with Miku in the beginning,
that was
get
great.
A room, I can't hear you.
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah. But then having also the rapid delivery of some of the most like, oh, of course this is Symphogear exposition, but. Okay, cool. The Illuminati, they're connected to everything. We've got some alchemists at the problem there. We got to go and deal with them. And now let's go.
Right.
And a few little, proper noun things that tie to some of the, conflict of this season for sure.
Exactly.
That are just, dropped, and we don't have explanation for them yet, but we know we're going to get them later. And okay, cool. We've got, alchemists here that kind of remind us of the antagonists of season 3, but have like direct historical names to some of the alchemists of history past, and artists, philosophers, what have you. So cool. Okay.
I'm also very excited that it seems to be specifically a trio of antagonists. So with season 3, granted we didn't get that vibe as much right out the gate because they were doing separate things, with like them each going off to fight like one of the song members, but I'm very interested to see the dynamic of these 3, given that they seem to be, as far as we can tell so far, of equal standing within the organization. Like, I can't see anything that really makes one of them seem like the leader or whatever. They're all...
There was a part where one of them was going to cast something. It was like a water-based alchemical thing or what have you, or like it was a blue one basically there. And one of the girls like slapped their hand away of like, no, don't do that. This will be a good experiment.
Oh,
so maybe
good catch,
actually that's the leader.
Okay,
primarily.
All right.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
The idea that this was also something where the reason as to why the Giga Kaiju Snake Dragon Worm thing was brought in here was because it was sealed away in some measure, but then the people that were marked by the Illuminati were then subsumed into energy.
Right.
And there was a vibe I got from it that made me think back to all the way back to season 1 stuff with Fine.
Oh, really?
So maybe I'm gonna like hold off on that until we get a little bit more into like a little bit of what this is. But they were giving a count, like 73,000 or something like that.
Right. So this is the kind of thing where they've been working on this for a long time, which is great. That makes sense because if they're this Bavarian Illuminati and they've been behind everything, then theoretically they could have been harvesting people from all sorts of conflicts across the series. Nice. And them guiding the song members to do these things that they want to do, but at the same time, chaos and carnage kind of is left in the wake because of all the people that they're dealing with.
Right.
And so maybe they've been like harvesting people from, those events as well.
And they called them basically a sacrifice of sorts, which denotes, I would say, some kind of ritual that they're preparing for, as these are humans that are required necessary components for some kind of alchemical act of some kind.
Already with the way that I feel like we understand the mechanics of what's going on, even if we don't know all of the intricate details, it makes me a lot more invested in what they're trying to do than the alchemical stuff that Carol was doing in season 3, because I feel like I wasn't able to follow as much with how the things that they were doing was helpful, and so it kind of felt like arbitrary conflict sometimes. But this, I feel like I'll be able to feel like I'm getting new information about it, even if it spends, say, half a season with just building up to whatever this event is, or even more, potentially.
For sure. Yeah.
Favorite part about this episode, though, was the fact that they had some Chris focus in there. I really like that. Because
Chris is a fantastic character.
And Symphogear, for all its wonderful action and everything, having those heartfelt character moments in the midst of the bombastic, over-the-top action, that's what really makes me love this show. So... really glad we got that there, and Chris, I feel like is one that has could use some focus,
Yeah, I think the main thing is that Chris is in the process of in some ways going through her own arc with regards to stepping up and being a leader and taking responsibility in a lot of these areas. And now that she's in a position of power and authority by being an arm of the UN through song, there's a little bit of that burden, I think, that she's maybe feeling of like, I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I want to make sure I'm being like the best I can be in this regard. But the fact that she flashed back to the time where she was at the mercy of mercenaries and stuff like that coming in this regard, this is something where I could very much see Chris being one of the first people to doubt their position in the current, structure of things by saying, hey, guys, I think there's a possibility that if we're dealing with a shadowy organization that is deeply embedded in the political, economic structure of the world, maybe being, at the behest of the UN isn't such a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
Because
when they attacked when they attacked the one facility and all the regular people started running, were those people hostages or were those people just living there and seeking shelter within the military base because scary people are attacking, right?
Who's to say?
Like the fact that their enemies end up using noise or alkanoise. Okay, that's good to know, right? And so for something like that, you do need Symphogear. You can't fight them without Symphogear.
Yeah.
But you're still fighting people as well. And, they did a really good job of showing all the ways in which they weren't trying to kill the people, right? Tsubasa would slice up the weapons and things like that, right? People would, get out of the vehicles when they're being trashed and stuff. But there was that point where one of the civilians almost died because I believe Hibiki knocked over one of the buildings, or someone knocked over one of the buildings, and then
it might have been
Hibiki,
Chris, but yeah.
yeah, and then Hibiki ran and jumped in and grabbed them and got them out of there.
There's also a little bit of the issue of like, wait, so the main reason we're going after these military installations, right, is because they're potentially connected to the Illuminati, right? So, is there something intrinsically wrong about a military using noise?
Sure, yeah,
They're not bringing that up.
right. Like this is some like
So
far they the way it's been set up at these bases is strictly as defensive measures with the way that it's set up. Now there was that point where then they're like, okay, we're gonna do this whole thing and just wreck the whole place, you know.
Yeah, which seems a bit
so
insane,
clearly there's some bad folks in charge
some
of
bad
these things.
characters, yeah.
Right. But the installations that are set up are not offensive. It's if people come and attack us, we can create noise that then can fend off attackers, right?
Which is interesting because then that gets into the whole morality of a weapon.
Right.
And it's the idea of like, well, you know, certain chemical weapons are banned by the Geneva Convention and stuff like that. Not because of the fact that they kill, but because of how they kill.
Right. And you could say that maybe alkanoids, because they, you know,
because there's no typical defense against them against, you know, people or what have you, it's kind of like deploying like anti-personnel, you know,
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a form of overwhelming force that maybe is, you know, to be discouraged.
But,
okay.
But is it their responsibility to go and basically destroy every single, you know, place that happens to have alkanoids as their weapons thing
And the thing is that I wouldn't necessarily focus on this too much if it didn't also seem like the show was specifically setting it up.
Yep.
Right? Where it's like, this is a thing that's happening now.
Yep.
If we had Hibiki needing to struggle with, I don't want to fight people, I just want to hold hands with, like, you know,
the rest of the show.
Right. Then what do you do when all of a sudden, yes, maybe they're not cute anime girls with unique designs and names and stuff, but, and I know I probably harp on the Humvee driver too much, but
that person's dead. Yeah.
At the very most,
their spine is shattered.
Yeah, with all the anime, like, you know, inertia doesn't matter physics and all of that stuff, and, you know, smoothing things over, they're probably paralyzed for life or in a very big neck brace, you know.
Yeah.
So that's
how Batman do you want to be with this Symphogear?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is that even if Hibiki or the other girls aren't killing people, that isn't just what Hibiki has had a problem with.
Yep.
She has had a problem with fighting people, right? Because, you know, regardless, she wants her hands to be for hand holding, not for punching, right? At least when it comes to people, right?
Yeah.
Noise is another matter, right? So I would be very curious to see how that gets explored in this season, because it feels like it's going to, and that's a concept that is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
since we're bringing this up, I might as well talk about it now. But I think it's time to breach this, because this is a thing that I feel like has been hinted at throughout the show, and I'm just waiting for the moment where they start poking at it a little bit more. We don't really know what the noise are. And something that they brought in a later season than season 1, forgot if it was 2 or 3, was the noise, I think it might have been for alkanoids specifically, so season 3, are now exploding in red mist rather than dark gray mist.
Oh, yeah,
And we just saw people getting subsumed into energy.
Right.
So
there was even
it's not a very large step of reaching to go and be like,
wait,
where do the alkanoids come from? Because they are not those little jewel things there.
Right, that's what they're stored inside of or whatever.
That's what they're stored inside
of. And
of.
if they're beings of, like, energy or something like that, then yes, it would make sense that you could theoretically have them stored in something very small that, you know, then they just sort of go and run rampant. Sure. But, yeah, this does feel very similar to, like, take the souls of people and put
Yep.
them into indestructible bodies, or
Yep.
all sorts of things
And-
that can be gotten into.
And I want to bring up the idea again that this is something that I feel like all sci-fi eventually go to. Is the idea that the nature of the soul is just a weird form of energy that we don't really understand, and thus
Ghost in the Symphogear.
yeah, and thus the original, point of Fine was to help humanity ascend to the point where we could reconnect with God, and in order to do that, it kind of seems like in some ways the physical bodies that we, inhabit are
Yeah.
the curse of humanity, and thus in order to move past that, we need to become
One of the
special
things,
beings, which are
Yeah.
more frequency than it gets all crazy, and then it's the you've actually been killing humans all this time with noise and then,
right?
yeah,
Because why have a show about cute girls if you can't have some mind break in there?
yeah, exactly.
One of the things that I am also kind of wondering is, so the Bavarian Illuminati seems like the final Earth conflict.
Yes, it does.
Now-
Potentially for both season 4 and 5, they could do that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And given that, the show has 5 seasons and it's finished,
yeah,
and there has been build up since the very beginning of the show of going to space, right? I feel like that has to happen at some point. The question is when and for how long, right? How long before the show's over, right?
yeah.
I'm curious how season 4 and 5 play into each other, because if this is the final Earth antagonistic force, right? And then say season 5 ends up being something where they go to space or something like that, which doesn't have to happen, but if it does, okay.
Okay.
What would be the ways in which the elements of them dealing with the Bavarian Illuminati here are setting up the next potential step?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I feel like there's so many ways they could take this, but right now, season 4, we're dealing with a human organization that employs human soldiers in human governments that happen to have access to alkanoids to drag the Symphogear users around to
Right.
smash some things up for them. Which, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, some details that I really loved from this episode: the ways a bunch of characters that haven't had as much to do in fights and stuff
Yes.
were able to participate.
Very efficient. Yeah.
Having Mr. Ninja go in on the ground with them, I thought that was great. That was
Tsubas's manager.
yeah, that was super cool. And then having the other two that would usually just be at like manning the computers and stuff in the submarine,
Yeah,
having
they're
them
like
actually
our agents of Shield, Fitzsimmons, and
Right.
and what's their name? Yeah.
yeah, like going around and driving the vehicle and being like, okay, we snuck into the place while the fight was going on. We're getting valuable
We
intel.
nearly died,
We
though.
nearly died. That's kind of stuff that I love, because since they don't have Symphogear, I'm actually worried that maybe they could die. They're not that like plot
We
important.
don't even know their names.
Right, we don't even know their names, so they totally could die, and the show could continue on without too much of a hiccup. But if the show wants to go into a more serious turn, and especially if the idea of actual human lives being in jeopardy comes into play,
Yep.
that could be a wonderful way
all
that you
connected.
could, you could have people die without it being actually killing the kids, So, yeah, I'm very excited to see how that goes.
All right. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb,
I'm Jacob.
and we'll see you all
Next time.